Hi, I'm Douglas Ross Capps, and an episode from the CBS Mystery Radio Theater from 1974 that I think would make a great film was an episode entitled The Sign of the Beast. It was an episode all about a girl named Millie exploring this island and kind of coming across the natives and their local customs, and she ends up breaking one of the customs and taking a mysterious artifact away that ends up cursing her and turning her into this kind of god against her that would make her become some sort of beast. So let's get into it. Now, what's on the agenda for this? Now, we're going to talk about what the film's about, why you should invest in it, and how you can make some money with this movie, the crew that we're going to have on this potential film, and the cast. And then we're going to go into kind of some movies that are like this to kind of give you an idea on what those movies grossed and give you an idea of what this movie looks like as far as the tone and the theme of everything. So let's get in. Now, the logline. An arrogant archaeologist disregards tribal customs and extends praise. Her motives are less than honorable and involves robbing old tribal artifacts, but what she forgets to count on is divine retribution. Now, what this movie is about is this, again, explorer named Millie who goes to this island, and she's an archaeologist, and she goes with her husband. And as the longline states, she kind of disregards what their customs are on this island, and the natives end up getting their revenge on her for breaking those customs because she does something horrible that results in the death of one of the local natives. So this is kind of that island kind of movie, the classic stories like Indiana Jones or Romancing the Stone, but instead taking that adventure story and flipping it on its head, where the archaeologist that's going on these adventures is then cursed by what they've been doing, and kind of their meddling kind of leads to some consequences. So what's this movie about? Again, it's about our main character, Millie. She's an archaeologist who goes to this island with her husband looking for ancient artifacts. She's warned about the customs of the native people on the island, and she doesn't follow them. She disrespects the people and causes the death of one of the locals. This causes the native people to curse Millie. Now, essentially what happens is on this island, one of the customs there is that you're not allowed to praise anyone. Praise is actually considered a bad thing on this island, and it's because that these people on this island have a god who doesn't want humans to be praised at all. They can take offense to that. So when Millie doesn't intend to hurt anyone but accidentally ends up praising someone on the island for how great they are, this offends one of the gods and causes a character's death. Now, this death offends the locals and the natives, and so they curse Millie by giving her an ancient artifact, which ends up kind of brewing this beast inside her and this hunger inside her, and she kind of grows more and more hungry and more monstrous throughout the movie. So it's taking a kind of Indiana Jones adventurer, Lara Croft kind of Tomb Raider character, and they are suddenly cursed by what they've done with this artifact stealing and kind of getting involved on this island they know nothing about. Here's a quote from Steven Spielberg saying, "Every time I go to a movie, it's magic, no matter what the movie's about." So I think that would kind of help with this film. Now here's our crew. We have Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou, you'll see as the cinematographer and director. These two are brothers. They recently came out with a film in 2022 with under a $5 million budget called Talk to Me, that I'll talk a little bit more about later. But it was a horror film they did that was able to gross over $90 million, and it was a small budget horror film that kind of came from these upcoming directors who started out as YouTube stars, and I think they would be great at taking this island movie and turning it into a really well done horror film. You also see that the producer is Ross Capps, that's me. I recently completed a short film for an Orlando Independent Film Challenge that was all set on a beach, and that kind of had some well praise from the audience. And I'm also completing a horror film set in an island that I'm producing now to submit to another competition where they'll have a horror category. So I've actually been working on a couple shorts involving some island themes, and so I think with that I'd make a great producer to kind of expand those island ideas and turn this movie into a larger scale version of some of the shorts I've already made. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to make a horror island themed movie. You'll also see Sam Licensio, our production designer. He's a guy who has done some production design on shows like The Bear, so he comes from television, and he does some really great stuff. So here's our cast. Our cast would have Millie, played by Allison Brie. She's been in some films on Netflix, things like The Horse Girl, and she's also in one of their shows where she plays a female wrestler. So she's kind of growing in popularity, but still up and coming in the film world. And she does a really great job. She's a powerful actress, and I think she'd be great to play the lead archaeologist character, Millie, who kind of goes into this island and explores it and ends up getting cursed. Her husband could be played by Stephen Amell, and he'll be playing an archaeologist with Millie. Again, he kind of gets involved in this plot, and he would have his friend, played by Tom Cavanaugh. And on the island, we could have one of the main characters who ends up actually dying as a result of Millie's praise. Could be an island native played by Grant Gustin. All of these actors, besides Millie, are coming from the CW. They come from television, so I'm sure they would very much like to expand that and grow into some bigger film roles. And I also think that although they are coming from television, they will be able to draw a bit of an audience because they come from some Marvel shows like The Flash and Arrow. And they'll be able to kind of bring some of that audience that have seen them before, play some superheroes and some TV stuff, and kind of watch them grow in some larger roles with a more horror-themed island adventure movie. And they'll be able to really fill those roles nicely. So that's our cast. And here's some similar movies to kind of what this movie would be like. So, of course, the biggest one that comes to mind is the adventure story like Indiana Jones, The Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, of course, had a larger budget than we'll have for this film with a $20 million budget and a gross of $354 million. But that does show you how popular and how much you can do on a grand scale with this adventure theme, is you are able to gross that much money. Now, something on a more closer to home budget that we'll have with our film is a movie like Talk to Me, which is again directed by the brothers who will be directing and cinematographer on this film, Danny and Michael. It had a under $5 million budget with $4.5 million, and it ended up grossing $92 million. And that was just a small horror film with a small budget, but with an up-and-coming kind of cast, similar to our film, that was able to do very well in theaters and gross a lot of money. So it kind of gives you an idea on what our island horror adventure movie can do. Some other films that are kind of the same idea. Of course, a classic adventure film, King Kong, where we get to see a monster come from an island. Back in 1933, had a $600,000 budget, but still made $5.3 million at the box office. A film like Mad Max had an even smaller budget, but over time was able to gross $100 million. And that was the original Mad Max in Australia from 1979. Again, something that's not an island movie, but a very popular adventure story, and kind of shows how people like to follow these adventure movies. And it always fills an audience and fills seats. And then, of course, the classic Treasure Island from 1950, done by Walt Disney. That was able to be done for $1.8 million and make $4.1 million just at the box office. So again, showing you the draw and the attention of adventure films, as well as some horror, and kind of how this will definitely create an audience that's really going to be excited for this type of movie, as am I. So in closing, this film is about adventure. It is about exploring an unknown island. It is about decisions that lead to consequences. Has all the fun of an adventure movie with all the suspense and thrills of a horror movie. With cursed artifacts, a beast, and a hunger that grows within Millie, this film is sure to enthrall an audience. So again, just to kind of sum everything up, it's an adventure movie, it's a horror movie, it's like Indiana Jones and Romancing the Stone meets something like Talk to Me or some kind of other horror movie, and it kind of makes everything that's fun about these lighthearted adventure films and flips it on its head with some dark horror and some dark curses and some definite consequences to these adventure stories. So thank you. Again, my name is Douglas Ross Capps. And this has been The Sign of the Beast, which would make a great film coming from an old CBS Radio Mystery Theater episode from 1974. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.